commented. He was blond and lanky, perhaps a year or two younger than her, and still lived with his parents. Every time we think we're getting caught up, we get slammed again. It's a beautiful day. But why are people here? On a day like today, they should be at the beach or out fishing, which is exactly what I'm doing when I finish up here. That sounds like a good idea. Can I drive you home later? He offered to drive her at least twice a week. Thank you, no, I don't live that far. It's no problem, he persisted. I'd be glad to do it. Walking's good for me. She handed him her ticket, and Ricky pinned it up on the wheel and then located one of her orders. She carried the order back to her section and dropped it off at a table. Ivan's was a local institution, a restaurant that had been in business for almost 30 years. In the time she'd been working there, she'd come to recognize the regulars, and as she crossed the restaurant floor, her eyes traveled over them to the people she hadn't seen before. Couples flirting, other couples ignoring each other, families. No one seemed out of place, and no one had come around asking for her, but there were still times when her hands began to shake, and even now she slept with a light on. Her short hair was chestnut brown. She'd been dyeing it in the kitchen sink of the tiny cottage she rented. She wore no makeup and knew her face would pick up a bit of color, maybe too much. She reminded herself to buy sunscreen, but after paying rent and utilities on the cottage, there wasn't much left for luxuries. Even sunscreen was a stretch. Ivan's was a good job, and she was glad to have it, but the food was inexpensive, which meant the tips weren't great. On her steady diet of rice and beans, pasta, and oatmeal, she'd lost weight in the past 4 months. She could feel her ribs beneath her shirt, and until a few weeks ago, she'd had dark circles under her eyes that she thought would never go away. I think those guys are checking you out, Melody said, nodding toward the table with the 4 men from the movie studio. Especially the brown-haired one, the cute one. Oh, Katie said. She started another pot of coffee. Anything she said to Melody was sure to get passed around, so Katie usually said very little to her. What? You don't think he's cute? I didn't really notice. How can you not notice when a guy is cute? Melody stared at her in disbelief. I don't know, Katie answered. Like Ricky, Melody was a couple of years younger than Katie, maybe 25 or so. An auburn-haired, green-eyed minx, she dated a guy named Steve who made deliveries for the home improvement store on the other side of town. Like everyone else in the restaurant, she'd grown up in Southport, which she described as being a paradise for children, families, and the elderly, but the most dismal place on earth for single people. At least once a week, she told Katie that she was planning to move to Wilmington, which had bars and clubs and a lot more shopping. She seemed to know everything about everybody. Gossip, Katie sometimes thought, was Melody's real profession. I heard Ricky asked you out, she said, changing the subject. But you said no. I don't like to date people at work. Katie pretended to be absorbed in organizing the silverware trays. We could double date. Ricky and Steve go fishing together. Katie wondered if Ricky had put her up to it, or whether it was Melody's idea. Maybe both. In the evenings after the restaurant closed, most of the staff stayed around for a while, visiting over a couple of beers. Aside from Katie, everyone had worked at Ivan's for years. I don't think that's a good idea, Katie demurred. Why not? I had a bad experience once, Katie said. Dating a guy from work, I mean. Since then, I've kind of made it a rule not to do it again. Melody rolled her eyes before hurrying off to one of her tables. Katie dropped off 2 checks and cleared empty plates. She kept busy, as she always did, trying to be efficient and invisible. She kept her head down and made sure the waitress station was spotless. It made the day go by faster. She didn't flirt with the guy from the studio, and when he left, he didn't look back. Katie worked both the lunch and dinner shift. As day faded into night, she loved watching the sky turning from blue to gray to orange and yellow at the western rim.